Welcome to our video forum. Today we have with us Jaime Mercado and Griselda Delgado. Both are running for Southwestern College's governing board seat number 1. It's important to also know that there is a third candidate in this race, and her name is Veronica Valdiva. We did contact Ms. Valdiva to join us today, but we received no response. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, candidates. We're going to go ahead and start with 3 phases for today's forum. The phase 1, you'll have the opportunity to give a 3-minute introduction. The phase 2, I'll be asking you a series of questions. You also have 2 minutes to answer each question, and if you want a rebuttal, you have 1 minute to answer. The phase 3, you'll have the opportunity to give a 3-minute closing statement. Okay? So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with phase 1. And if you want to go ahead and get started with your opening statement, okay.
Hi, my name is Griselda Delgado, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. I commend you with the Sun and all the awards that this newspaper has received. My name is Griselda Delgado, and I want to run for the Southwestern College Board because I'm a product of a community college. I went to 2 different community colleges, LA Harbor and Imperial Valley, and if it hadn't been for the services I received in the community colleges, I could not have transferred to a university. So my drive into becoming your next board member is to make sure that we continue offering the services students need, working students that have a lot of responsibilities, that come into the community college to get the skills that they need to get that promotion, or get the skills that they need to be able to function in a university setting. So I want to protect that and continue growing that. Along the same lines, with my 20 years experience as an educator in the secondary district, I really bring that phase of trying to establish new brainstorming techniques so we can move Southwestern College to that next level. Let's create more transfer students. Let's create more jobs, and our community is based on the education that we receive here. So being that I've been a 17-year-long resident here, I want to continue living here and promoting the community and its education. And that is one of the reasons I'm here, and I'm 100% authentic, and I will answer any question for anyone, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, welcome. And you did it all. You did all this in less than 3 minutes.
And that's good.
Okay, and you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Jaime Mercado, and I am a product of this school. I graduated from Southwestern College, and I was able to go to San Diego State because of it. I was an administrator at Sweetwater District. I was a teacher aide. I was a teacher. I was a principal for 24 years in every level of the school system. Junior high school, comprehensive high school, continuation high school, and adult school. I was also a board member of the Sweetwater District in 2004 to 2008. I'm specifically running to address 2 of the 7 strategic priorities that your board has. 1 is student success, and 2 is the academic workforce development. Now, let me tell you what specifically I mean by that. Before the corruption scandals and everything broke down, the communication and everything else, the relationship that we had at Sweetwater District and Southwestern College, we had an excellent working relationship and collaboration and coordination of programs at the very basic level to the administrative level to the policy-making level. We need to get back to that, and I believe I'm the key link to bring that back. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the respect of the working force in Sweetwater District, and I believe, based on the testimony by grand jury, that I have that too here. Now, student success and transfer rate needs to improve, and I know that, and everybody's working towards that. It begins with a level at the high school. If we have the collaboration and cooperation and between the teachers that examine our students when they get here, and they know what deficiencies they come with, and we have that at that level with the teachers from Sweetwater High School, which we did before, then they can address those issues before they even get here. And that was happening before. Let me give you an example. when I was a principal at Mar Vista High School, the percentage of students that were going to college were 13% or 18%, something like that, very low. The teachers wanted to do more. There was an outreach program, and there was a collaboration between the teachers here and the teachers at Mar Vista. And in 5 years, 58% of the kids went to college. That is what I'm talking about. Now, the fourth priority is workforce development. Never in the high school years that I was there did the students identify this institution as the premier where they could go and get a career, technical, vocational, advanced degree or certificate of proficiency. Say a journeyman's degree in avionics, mechanics, or plumber or electricity, or any of those things. So those are the areas that I really want to address. With 50% of our students not going to academic four-year degree, there is a need. And I think I'm in a unique position to help our college do that. Secondly, I am looking forward to, if I get elected, to work with a team that's directed in that area.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with phase 2, and I'll be asking you a series of questions. And you also have 2 minutes, as I said before. So the first question is, several former governing board members and administrators participated in unethical and illegal practices. What would you do, directly or indirectly, to hold any college officials accountable and to help Southwestern College clean its image?
I will go ahead and do that since I dealt with it directly. I was on the board at the time, and I constantly kept telling those people at our site at the Sweetwater District, and they were part of the whole corruption, that if I found something illegal and could prove it, I would take them to the DA and the grand jury. They responded by threats, 2 letters of threats to me, written by their attorney, but I did not care. I continued to do that. And even though they went ahead and funded somebody else to bump me off in the 208 election, that person also got indicted. So you have to have ethics, and not only ethics to preserve yourself in office, but ethics for the focus of the students that you're serving. And if it means that you're going to suffer consequences, then suffer those consequences. I'm not running because I want to be in a position of an elected official. I have no interest in being a professional politician. And so, my understanding, and from everything that I see, that this board is not engaged in those kinds of things, and it would be nice to serve with a board that is not, that is focused on students. I'm glad to see that the corner lot is now refocused on student needs rather than doing what Sweetwater District did, is to engage in speculation and land development and those kinds of things. So I would continue to fight them no matter what.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, ready?
Ethics comes to me as experience has taught me how strong your ethics is. And when you're confronted with situations where you have to be courageous, that's when your ethics is tested the most. As a middle manager, I'm currently a principal at Hilltop Middle. I was the principal at Hilltop at Palomar Continuation High School for 5 years when there was a lot of corruption going on in my district in Sweetwater. We were the ones caught in the middle. So we had to stand our ground at the same time with no protection. So it was a very difficult situation to be in because my ethics were tested and I pushed, but I was threatened as well. So when you're caught in those situations where you have to decide, what am I going to do what's right or follow along and push, it's hard. But when people hold each other accountable at the site level, at the site level and at the student level, we need to trust each other. And trust, communication, and transparency is what makes your ethical beliefs. If students hold the teachers accountable, if the teachers hold the administrators accountable, and the administrators hold their supervisor and the board accountable, the community will hold the board accountable. As a board member, I will definitely have firsthand experience understanding that when the middle managers or the president or the superintendent have unethical beliefs and are taking actions that are unethical, I would be the first one to question them. So I have no problem stepping up with that courageous and having those courageous conversations with them, because I think if you're afraid, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's a little bit, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when you do it with, with a time limit and stuff, but we're just trying to keep to the timing. But thank you for your answer, and thank you also, Jaime. Then we're gonna move on to the second question, and the second question is, what does transparency mean to you?
Simply be open to everything. For the public to be able to see everything that every business that you're conducting. Not erasing hard drives like they did at Sweetwater. Not saying you got only 30 days to hold all of your meetings information in there, and then lie that you cannot have enough hard drive in order to not be held accountable to what happened a year ago or 2 years ago, as it happened in Sweetwater. To have meetings in places. This is what I learned from Sweetwater, to have meetings in places where everybody can be there and not have 10, 15 cops threatening people if they try to get into the meeting. Not having the board members cut you off with 1 minute of communication. Not having the board members have the meetings at middle of the day when nobody can go because they're working. Not having all those things, and having all the documentation, having all the discussion open to everyone. Now, transparency is an easy term to say, but many people use it very stupidly because they don't use it at all. They use it to just hide themselves, and I firmly believe everything should be open for the public to view.
Thank you very much.
Transparency, it comes with trust. If people don't trust you, if the president doesn't trust the board, then information is going to be withheld. The superintendent doesn't trust the information going out, then that information is going to be withheld. If you are uninformed, if you don't have the right information, therefore you're not going to be making sound decisions. So transparency comes from making sure all entities in the institution you set policy to make sure that every information, every piece of data is exposed. So everyone, not just the board, but the superintendent or the president or the faculty can have access to it, and the students, of course. When you have that transparency and you're setting policy that you expect that, then number one, everyone's going to expect to get that information, and that's when you get the right questions. Transparency is an action. You cannot ask the right questions if you're ignorant to the information. So what people do is that they hold information so you can't ask the right questions. Transparency for me is access. You create access to information so students, faculty, administrators can ask those questions that create those courageous conversations. So it is a very important word for everyone and for students to also understand it, because a lot of the times we hold information away from parents and students, and they can't ask those right questions to hold us accountable. So that is my answer to the definition of transparency.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I'm going to start with you, Griselda. What is your position on vesting rights for adjunct instructors?
I understand that 70% of the faculty here are adjunct or part-time. And to me, the questions that I have been asking are, how accessible are the adjunct professors to the students? Do they have office hours? Can students have access and be able to meet with them in a place where they can ask their questions for clarification of whatever happened in class? If we have 70% of our faculty who is part-time, I'm questioning how effective is that for them when making themselves accessible to students. If you only have 2.5% of your students who are transferring, I would like to know more about how the faculty, the adjunct faculty, is taking effect of how that's affecting student achievement. So I'm willing to learn. I don't know everything about that, but I'm willing to understand that from the students that I have spoken to that they don't have time, that it is an issue having too many part-time faculty here. We need more full-time faculty because of the accessibility they would create being on campus, having office hours, and understanding that if the professor is not accessible to the student's going to have a hard time succeeding. So I'm definitely a supporter to trying to figure out what we can do to lower the number of adjunct faculties.
Okay, thank you. Jaime?
Yeah, I can't agree more with her than that. Sometimes they call those people freeway flyers, because they'll have a class here, another one in Otay, another one in National City, and with having so many people that are part-timers, it does affect the quality of instruction, the quality of attention that you give the students, and we need to have more that are full-time. There is another thing, and I know that sometimes administration looks at that as a numbers game, a budget. You know, they don't get benefits, they don't get this, they don't get these other things. I think that's cruel. These people have families. They need to support them. They have to have medical. So it's a mutually beneficial thing for our teachers as well as for our students. And we should not just be accountants, bean counters. We should take into consideration the lives of these people as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to question number 4, what is your view on shared governance? Griselda, we'll start with you again.
Shared governance is something that it should be not just for the community college, but I've experienced it at my site and also in my district. People don't do this very well. When they sit down and talk about issues, shared governance is to make decisions together, to be collaborative with the faculty, with the students, with administrators, with the board, and understand that we make decisions about our institution unitedly. Some people have a different way of interpreting that, but no matter where you are, shared governance is about decision making. If you're at home with your family, if you're in the classroom and you're the professor, you're making decisions together to affect one cause. So when people talk to me about shared governance, I always think about when I make a decision, simple decisions. It's not just me making it because I think this is the right answer. It's me making it because I have the right information. I asked people, I included them in making sure they educated me regarding my decisions. And then I can say, well, you know what? I might not agree with that, but all the people that have been advising me and how we discuss it in our meetings, this is the right decision. So I make decisions based on what all the feedback that I've gotten. Real shared governance really happens in those trusting environments where you can actually disagree and be okay with making a decision that you disagree with, but you're still okay because everybody came together and made that decision with you.
Thank you very much.
It's meaningful participation in the decision-making process. It's not just getting people together and listening to them and saying thank you very much for your input, but we're still going ahead with what we thought was the right thing to do. Meaningful participation is giving information to people, full information. We come back to transparency so that they can participate, having full knowledge of whatever it is that the situation we're discussing and trying to make a decision. And then taking into consideration what their position is, whether it's faculty, parents, students, anything like that. So again, meaningful participation is definitely meaningful inclusion in the decision process of those people that are affected by the decisions that you're making, whether you're a dean or you're a board member. That's really what it means to me.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, if a student came to you with a concern over a policy or procedure, what would you do? And Griselda, we'll start with you.
students can have a perception of a policy and interpretation of a policy, and it might not be that they recognize the policy. So you'll hear the issue and the problem that they're having. Number one, you listen and you make sure you understand the problem. Number two, you go back and do your homework, making sure, okay, where is this coming from and why is this becoming an issue? Is this the only student has gone through this? What's the history on it? So if you take every situation and you find the history of it, you educate yourself and then you discuss it with your colleagues. Why is it that we're not following this policy? Has this policy changed? Can we reflect on it and maybe change the policy? Is it going to affect all students or just a minority of the students? Does it have an effect on academic achievement? So the questioning process when it comes to complaints or having an issue with a policy or a rule that hasn't been followed has to be studied. You can't let complaints go. You can't just say that, oh, well, this particular student always complains. No, there's something legitimate here, and maybe you haven't been listening. So I like to listen to students, and I like to make sure I understand what their complaint is, so then I can go back and say, well, are we following or not? And if we're not, we need to do something about it. One person can change a policy. So it could be that one complaint that could take it all the way up to the board and say, you know what, we haven't looked at this. Maybe we should change this.
Thank you. Jaime?
First is to examine what the student's complaint is in relationship to the policy and see if the complaint is in fact related to the policy. Sometimes it isn't. If it is, then there's usually a procedure, and I know you have, Sweetwater has it, by which a person lodges a complaint and there's a process. I would not, as a board member, just jump the process and try to solve the problem myself. But at the same time, I would not just tell the person, go ahead through the bureaucracy and look at it and see what they say, what they tell you. I would look at it to see if the policy needs revision, and then I would get together with the superintendent and say, look, this is a complaint by one person, and that person has some really basis for that complaint. We need to, as a board, as an administration, revisit that policy. This is a policy that was instituted in 1963, and things have changed since then. Those kinds of things, you have to look at it from a board member and not be obstructive in terms of saying, go to the bureaucracy and they'll take care of you. But at the same time, not overlook the administration, which is in charge of administering the policy.
Thank you very much. Okay, and moving on to our next question. And our next question is, SWC has a history of withholding documents and concluding closed meetings. What would you do to ensure increased transparency? And Griselda?
So it's my understanding to the question, the clarification of the question. So in the past, they have closed down meetings and not giving you access to certain information, am I correct?
Well, the question is about withholding documents and then a lot of the meetings are closed meetings.
Okay. As a board member, I would ask to see what the rationale was regarding why are you preventing students, especially if the reporters from the newspaper, why are they being prevented from coming to the meetings? And B, why are certain documents or information not accessible, become public information for the student body or the community? Those are things that I think I need to know the rationale. The superintendent probably could tell me, or the president could tell me what the rationale is. Like I was saying before, the transparency needs to be set as a standard for the board. If the standard is not set, then the president, administrators, and so on will not have that transparency for you. So then you create these issues of people not having access to certain meetings or people not having access to certain documents. As a board member, with the other board members, we need to be all aligned on the same page as to believing in the same access to information for all public. The students are pretty much should have access to everything that we have access to because it's public information. So if those have been some issues that you have been going through, I'll be glad to ask the questions and hopefully get some answers for you.
Thank you. And Jaime?
If those meetings are not required by law, and the withholding of those documents are not required by law to be withheld from the public, it needs to stop. No matter what, it needs to stop. And if you're making decisions that need to be withheld from the public eye, you have no business being a decision maker. And I'm saying, for example, executive sessions, they're executive sessions. They need to be closed sessions. Items that cannot be made public are personnel matters. And some of the things that are legally, you're legally bound to have those withheld from the public. Other than that, it needs to stop. If you don't have the courage to face the public and the decisions that you're making, you need to get out. Short answer to that.
Okay, thank you very much. And my next question is, Southwestern College and Sweetwater have not had a smooth relationship. What is your vision for changing that? Jaime?
I mentioned before, and you're right, it has not had a good working relationship lately as a result of all of the corruption and the bickering and fighting and that kind of thing, and especially the last superintendent who wanted to establish a K-14 and universities and that kind of thing. My point in becoming a board member here is that I believe that I have the trust of the work and file of the Sweetwater district, and I have had the experience in having a better relationship with the district. And so we need to reestablish that working relationship at the basic level, with the teachers interacting with each other, with the administrators interacting with each other, and the policymakers, and having a regular concrete with agendas to be able to accomplish a work that will be mutually beneficial to the students. And I think we have now, at all levels, we have the people that can do that now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Establishing a bridge between secondary and our community college is a critical factor, and my vision for this, being that I've been in the Sweetwater Union High School District for 17 years, I have seen what our students have to deal with on a daily basis regarding life, responsibilities, finance. And thinking about going into a four-year university right after high school is not something that most of our kids are thinking about. They want to, but they're not thinking about. So establishing that bridge, that the community college is 100% very competent to educate you for your next job, for your first job, and also to give you some time to gather up your finances so then you can transfer to university. You save 2 years of money when you come to the community college. So I want to establish not just that bridge between secondary and the community college in our community. I want to establish the support mechanisms to take students that don't have the family structures, to walk them through the entire K through 16, because once they get to the community college, they have to handle everything here. They're adults and they have to do it. A lot of our students are not ready. 18, 19, 20-year-olds are not ready for that. I would like to see those support mechanisms, all the way from mentors to tutoring to handling the transfer and working with the counselors on both ends, counselors at the high school and counselors here, and also working with the teachers to establish those bridges of academic relevancy. So it's a it has a continuance in English and math and science. So it's not so foreign to them and they can easily transition.
Thank you very much. And my next question is, right now the governing board trustees go into closed sessions without the student trustee. As you know, there's a student trustee on the board. What do you think with the idea of the student trustee attending closed sessions? And Griselda, we'll start with you.
I've always seen the student representative, and I understand it's an elected position. It's not like the elected position for the board, but it's a student elected position. I would have to ask to see what the parameters and legalities is. I'm thinking if they're adults and they got elected by the student body, I'm not sure if the board would have, he or she would have accessibility to the closed sessions. That's a very good question for me, because I'm not sure if they can be part of the closed sessions. I know our students are minors at Sweetwater, at our district, and they're not part of the closed sessions. So I wouldn't want the parent in there either, because they're minors. But here you have adults on the board as student representatives. So it would be something that I would ask and say, what's the rationale? And if they are elected as the student representative on the board, what holds us back from having them participate in the closed sessions?
Thank you. Jaime?
I would have to say the same thing. I need to look at the legality of having someone who is not an elected official by the population of the Sweetwater district. And if it's not legal, then you can't put them in there. But if it's legal, then why not? You have an adult population here, most of them are voting population in the college, and they're elected by their peers. If there's no legal reason why you keep them out, they should be there.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so my next question is, what have you learned from experiences that will make you the best candidate for the governing board? And Jaime, we'll start with you.
I'm a graduate of Southwestern College. Had it not been for Southwestern College, it'd be difficult for me to have gone on a career. 33 years with the Sweetwater Union High School District, having lived in this area for over 50 years, having had thousands upon thousands of students, having been a board member for 4 years, Sweetwater District, having participated with Southwestern College in many of the events that we had, but most of all, the last few years with the Sweetwater District and as a board member of the Sweetwater District. And we had a very, very good relationship at the time, with collaboration at every level, as I said, in the teaching level, the policy making level, and the administrative level, which made it very, very conducive to student success, at least the students that came from Sweetwater. As I indicated before, that kind of outreach, that kind of quality cooperation and articulation made it possible for the teachers at at Mar Vista High School to go from 18% to 50-something% enrolling in college. So that to me is very key. The student is the one that needs to be the focus of that, and I believe that I have the experience and the information and the credibility to be the key link between Sweetwater and Southwestern College.
Thank you very much. Griselda?
My experience stems from not having a great childhood. I went to 12 different schools, and that's why I ended up in a community college, and I was not going to graduate from high school, and I was not going to go to college. A lot of our students that I have worked with for the past 20 years, I reflect every day when I talk to a student, because I used to be there. And every day I'm reminded what my passion is, and the reason I became an educator is because it takes one person to change a life. And if you just take the time to get to know a student, you can make an impact in their life. I remember that my educational career was based on the teachers. That one teacher that took the time to tutor me, the one counselor that took the time to say, you can do this, and I believe in you. So my passion for education is completely authentic. I'm not here for any political gain, and I'm not here for any other reason but to assist students. Now the curriculum education has shifted, and is shifting tremendously. The 21st century skills that our students are required to have now are critical, not only at the secondary level, but also at the college level. The jobs of today definitely require a lot more technology, and not just that, require a different type of thinking. So the critical analysis, the critical thinking that students need to have, it's new to the teachers, to the educators. We remember, how school used to be before. School's not like that anymore. The jobs and employers are wanting something else. I bring to the board a perspective of the future. This is what our students need. Employers are looking for these skills, and we need to make a move now. And this is the time, because your board is wonderful, and I want to work with them to create new programs.
Thank you very much. And my next set of questions, I'm going to ask you both two different questions, and it's going to be based on the answers that you gave to these questions that I've had so far. And Jaime, I'll go ahead and start with you. On vesting, on question number 3, which relates to vesting for our college, you said that we need to have more that are full-time.
Yes.
Could you please elaborate a little bit more on that, what you mean? How would you go about achieving that, considering that there are other considerations that we have to go by as far as budget, as far as approvals, as far as reviews, as far as other issues that we have on campus? So saying that we do need to have more full-time, a lot of people would agree with you. However, it's not that simple to achieve. Can you please elaborate on that, and how would you achieve that?
And I understand it's not that simple to achieve, because you do have the budget considerations. And bottom line is, you can't pay everybody full-time because of it. But, and I don't know what the policies are, to be honest with you, and I don't know what the very intricacy of the details are. But I know that you begin to consolidate assignments as people begin to go elsewhere or begin to retire, and that's where you have to have a long-term plan to look at that. And other than that, you have to work with the administration and give the direction that should happen. Just kind of an example. At some time, the Sweetwater District had a lot of part-time positions for people, so that they didn't pay them their benefits. Well, board members said that's wrong. We need to go in a different direction and consolidate those positions and make those positions full-time. And in fact, they moved in that direction. It didn't take a day or two, and it didn't take a year or two, but it moved eventually there. And that's what I would see that we would look at in terms of long-term rather than a year or 2 years.
Thank you very much. And Griselda, I wanted to ask you a question about the answers that you gave in regards to transparency and having access to documents. You said that every piece of data needs to be exposed. Transparency to me is access. You also stated in regards to having documents available, is that students should have access to documents that we all have access to. Now, with the history, I've been here working with Southwestern College for the last couple of years, and we've had an issue with this particular situation where documents are not, we're not given documents even though those documents are public. We request these documents over and over and over, and we still have a hard time with them. And then we have to go through the process, and it just seems like it's a regular thing. Can you please elaborate on that? You're saying that we need to have access to all those documents. I think a lot of people will also agree with you on that. Can you please elaborate, and what would you do to resolve the issue with particular administrations that are giving us a block to have access to these documents? And then they do this for students, because there's a lot of turnaround with students, especially with student journalists. So they do it over and over and over, and every time it's a different student. Can you tell us how would you resolve that issue if you were here on campus?
It seems like the issue you're explaining has been happening for a while now. This is not just a now thing. So if it's been happening for a while, I definitely want to know how many years. If this has been happening, let's say for the past 5-10 years, then there has to be a policy that the board sets, or maybe it's already there, but the administration is not following. So there's a fear somewhere. Somebody's afraid to give you or have students or reporters have access to this information. First of all, I need to know what that fear is. What's causing administrators not to give you that access to the information? And human nature leads us to believe that you're hiding something. When you're not willing to open and be sharing of any document, then what are you hiding? So the question needs to happen internally first. I think I would ask my colleagues, say, hey, give me some historical as to what's been happening with the reporters with the Sun for the past 5 years. Oh, this is what's been happening. Then having that conversation with my colleagues and saying, how are we supporting our students? especially our reporters that are the ones who are communicating with the community. So I would, number one, start with us first, because if we're on the board and we're the ones making those decisions and upholding and protecting our board policies, then it's on us. You hold us accountable for that. So if administrators are not giving you access to this information, then that means we're not giving it to you either. So it has to come from the board to give that direction of accessibility. Set the standard, make sure it's accessible if it's a public document, and make sure it's accessible for all, not just for certain people.
Great, thank you very much. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to phase 3, and phase 3 is your closing statements. And now you have 3 minutes to get started with your closing statements. So Jaime, you want to go ahead and get started first?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, before I do my closing, I'd like to just kind of add to what she said. It doesn't matter what the history of it is. What matters is whether it's legal or illegal. And there are laws that provide for the public to have access to that information. And the bureaucracy should not put those stumbling blocks on whether it's the student newspaper or the newspaper by the UT or anything else. If it's legal, give it to them, regardless of what the history of abuse is in that area. Okay, and that leads into the reason for my being here. One is I need to address the issue of student success, and student success begins at collaboration with the feeder schools. And Sweetwater District is the biggest feeder school to Southwestern College. We had an excellent articulation program. We had an excellent communication. We had excellent collaboration at the very basic level with the teachers. We had with the administrators and at the board level. And it was a structured one, not left by chance. The results were great, but that has lapsed. And you mentioned that because of the corruption and what happened between the boards and the administration. We need to get back to that. And I believe I'm the link, because I work with that system at the administrative level as well as at the policy-making level. The second one is that I would like to see more done for students who do not go to a four-year college or get an academic degree. 50% of the students in Sweetwater High School do not go for that route. And we leave it to chance for them to get meaningful employment, meaningful training, and we need to do something more about that. And that's the strategic priority of the board forward. And I think that's important to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Griselda?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. This is my first time, and I think I survived well. The reason I want to be part of the board is one of the reasons that I see here at Southwestern College. I look at this institution as the hub of our community. We create our community, and the education we give it is what creates Chula Vista, National City, San Diego, San Isidro. And I think all the components are here to take Southwestern College to that next academic level. You have 20,000 students enrolled here, and 12,000 of those wrote that they are intending to go to a four-year college. 12,000, that's amazing, that's awesome. But only 2.5 actually make it. Now, not everybody's going to a four-year college, but if 12,000 students have the intention of going when they initially enroll, then what opportunities are we giving them to be successful when they are here? So what kind of support mechanisms do we have here? Not just for those 12,000 that are intending to go to a four-year university, but all the adult students, all the single parents, all the laid off adults who want to start a new career, all the returning veterans that are coming back and they want to continue on with their career choice. We need to offer a diversity of opportunities for all the adults, not just the high school students coming, which is a large population, but to all the community members. So I want to be part of those conversations that begin to have, and we're going to create this together, that Southwestern College is going to be the institution of opportunities for all adults. not just the ones transferring to a 4-year, but any type of career, technical career, anything that we can offer to move them forward to that next level so they can become part of our middle class. They can become part of those parents that are going into our district that are giving those kids more opportunities than what they are right now. That's why I want to be here.
Thank you very much. Well, that concludes our forum today. I want to thank you all for joining us. I appreciate your time and efforts for coming here. And thank you for watching. And that's it. And with that said, thanks candidates for joining us today, and thank you for being here with us. For the Southwestern Sun, my name is Lina Chankar.